Hello, thank you for accessing Passages Center for Self-Directed Learning information session. If you have any questions after this viewing, please reach out to myself, Christina, at passagescenter.ca, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. So now a bit about me. My name is Christina House, and I'm the founder and the executive director of Passages Center. We're just finishing up our 5th year, and we've been around since 2020. Related to self-directed learning, my family were homeschoolers, more specifically unschoolers, which is a form of homeschooling where it's child-led learning based on their interests, and they have full autonomy to have and create the education that they wish. When I was considering opening Passages, and then even since then, I was mentored by many founders and executive directors of other democratic schools around the world. And I feel really fortunate to have their guidance and help along the way. In my past life, during my years of homeschooling, I was also working as an American Sign Language to English interpreter for 16 years. I worked all over the community, colleges, universities, doctor's appointments. And at the end of my time as an interpreter, I was working in the Toronto District School Board as a sign language interpreter in the classroom. I was also a birth doula for 10 years. Birth is one of my passions. And just before we started homeschooling, I was admitted into the TMU midwifery program. It was during that time that we felt like the school system just wasn't working for our kids. So I withdrew from that program and then poured my life and heart into homeschooling. And that's led me to where I am now. I always say, like, I'm a bit of an example of self-directed learner. I had a plan at 12 to become an interpreter, and I did that. While I was doing that, I had a passion in birth, and so I did that at the same time. Then I got deep into education and children and neurodiversity and poured everything into that, and that's kind of led me down this path. So all of our careers take us on this kind of twisty, windy path if we allow it. And I think leading a self-directed, educated life is the best, most fun, creative way to live. Sometimes people reach out to us when they're hearing this in their home. You can just take a minute and look at that. So I'm not sure if any of those resonate with you, but reasons why the mainstream system doesn't work for many young people, especially neurodivergent young people, is that learning feels pointless, out of context to their life. It's not related to an interest, so it just doesn't hold them and captivate them. It feels boring. They prefer to dive into their own interests. And what I see so often is that they'll do bare minimum on required work, but when it comes to their interest, they'll pour everything into that and go above and beyond what anyone would expect them to do at their age or their grade level. So it's just proof that when someone has an interest, they will just go for it. A lot of young people can feel alone, even though they're surrounded by peers all through the school. There might be 1,000 people in their school and they still just feel alone, like they're not connecting. There's a lot of school anxiety, school trauma that kids are dealing with. They may feel overwhelmed or overstimulated in the classroom. A lot of young people who are gifted or twice exceptional, neurodivergent, start to feel like burned out by the demands of being in a classroom. And so allowing them this freedom in education is a really powerful opportunity. So there are self-directed learning centers and democratic schools all over the world. This is just a snapshot of North America. In Canada, there's only a few self-directed learning centers like Passages. We're one of, I think, 2 or 3. But all over the world, there are other people running centers just like ours, especially in the United States. It's quite known. We're modeled after the Summerhill School in England, which is the oldest democratic school. It's over 100 years old. And we also model ourselves after the Sudbury Valley approach and philosophy to education. So we're not unique in the sense of, like, there are a lot of places like us, but we are a unique approach to education, which is really exciting. If you're interested in reading more, here are just some books that you can kind of dip your toe in to see what this is all about. The Unschooling to University is a Canadian book by a woman in Western Canada. She wrote that and has unschooled her children all the way to university. So it's a great read. So what exactly is self-directed learning? Because some people arrive and they think, my kid's not motivated, they're not going to do anything, they need to be told what to do, they need structure, they need someone following up with them and making demands on them. And that is a very schooly way of perceiving an education. Our hope is that you'll shift to a more alternative approach. We see that education should be separate from school. Someone can be educated without school. We know that as adults in our life, how we learn is through an unschooled way. We don't have someone telling us to learn. We might have an interest in our gardens. We go and learn information, we apply it, we test it. So that's kind of the idea of a self-directed education. It's not just like sending them out to do whatever they want and, good luck, kid. It's a very supported approach with direction if they want it, schedules if they want it. The goal with this education is that it's learner driven and that they have full autonomy to do what they want to do. You're probably familiar with the traditional school of learning, which is school tends to focus on the what to learn. So there'll be a required curriculum. This is what you need to learn. Here's how we're going to do it. Memorization or tests or essays. And then there'll be an external assessment. And through that assessment, they get their external motivation. So a grade or a sticker or praise or something that is external to how they feel about the work. In a self-directed learning space, self-directed learning mindset, it's based on the individual. What do you want to know? And they never ask the question like, why am I learning this? Because they're learning something from an innate sense of this is what they want to learn. So what they want to learn, how to learn, is as expansive as the world. It just takes an idea and a bit of curiosity, and then it can just snowball from there in terms of like where that learning can take them. And the assessment becomes very personal. Did they set out to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish? And if not, go back and repeat or adjust or follow another trail and see where that takes you. So a lot of self-directed learning is self-reflection and then assessment and then repeating on a continuous basis. So again, what is self-directed learning? It means being in charge of your own learning. It means engaging in self-chosen activities, being in touch with what's important to you, and leading with curiosity. All of that can lead to people asking to do math, believe it or not. We regularly see people coming to us and saying, I really want to learn math. It feels important. Can you help me do this? And of course we do, because it's self-chosen and there won't be any nagging or anything required of us to make them do it because they're choosing to do it, and they could choose to walk away from it as well if they wanted. So self-directed learning is about empowerment and autonomy. The learners at Passages are a mix of past homeschoolers or past mainstream schoolers, unschoolers. It's a whole mixture of different kinds of learners who have come from all different walks of life. So what do they do all day? That's a big question we get. This is a little snapshot of what some people get up to. So if you have a music interest, you can follow that. Or if you have a STEM interest, you can work on coding, playing instruments, producing, as this young person's doing. Geography is a big thing amongst mainly like younger boys in the 12-year-old range. They at some point get into like world flags, and that tends to like take their interest down in a whole other path. So taking that one interest of learning about a country's flags you can follow the rabbit trail in so many different directions. There's also a lot of artists or people who like to be creative and make things. So clothing design, animation, video editors, baking, textile work, artists, all of that can be done as a self-directed learner at Passages. So how does Passages work? We are open Monday to Friday from 9 to 3. We have flexible attendance, flexible scheduling. People don't need to be there right at 9 a.m. or stay right till 3. We work with the learners and what their needs are. A lot of them arrive for the day around 10:30 or before 10:30, but most are there by 10:30. There's none of that like early morning rushing to get out the door by 9 a.m. or you get in trouble. It's just like show up when you can, and we're always happy to see you. That being said, a lot of them see that freedom and still come every day, first thing, 9 to 3. That ability to have choice takes away the pressure and the requirement to be there, so they come from their own volition. We ask everyone who joins, because we are a community and we want to have like a vibrant community, we ask everyone who joins to come at least 2 days a week. So there's flexible attendance with the requirement that you come at least 2 days a week. Our community is a democratic-led community using consent-based decision-making. All the decisions in the center go through our weekly community meeting, which is youth-run, youth-led, and the agenda items typically are what learners are bringing forward of changes they'd like or resources they'd like to bring in within the center, and we work to make that happen. We have different classes that we offer throughout the year, and most of those classes are based on groupings of learners who might have the same interest. We'll see that there's an interest across a few different people, and we'll ask them, do you want this, like, do you want a formal scheduled thing? If they want that, it goes on the schedule, and that becomes like a regular time during the week for that subject to take place. Different kinds of classes can be, we had like a driver's ed class for a while, we have math classes, art techniques, music, there's a computer coding class, like different kinds of classes. I have a snapshot of our schedule coming up on one of the slides, so you'll see kind of what a week could look like in terms of offerings, but it's very dynamic and dependent on the learners in the space and their interests. We also offer one-on-one mentoring, so all of the learners have one-on-one time with a mentor, a staff person, to sit with them, make plans, set out goals, set out timelines, and just make sure that they're not falling through the cracks, or that their time is documented and their work is documented, which is a documentation that we create for families so that learning is tracked. So that if in the future there was a post-secondary application or a return to high school proof of learning document needed, we have all the life and learning that they've been doing, and it's easy to present and offer. Our environment is very low pressure, as you'll see in a couple of the next slides. Basically, we don't want to be a school. We don't look like a school. We know learning can happen in all environments, so we just make it a space that feels as comfortable as possible. We also offer support and guidance for anyone who wants to earn credits, so grade 9 and above. There's different places, different organizations that offer credit earning programs. So we support in that if that is something that the learner chooses to do. So this is our location. We're in the Eastminster United Church on the Danforth between Broadview and Chester Subway. So in a really hop-in part of the Danforth. It's awesome to be a part of that area. We have 3 rooms on the west side of the building. We have a front classroom, which is the middle photo, a main room space, that top photo, and then our art room is in the back, where there's hardwood floors and a lot of messy work that happens there, so it's easy to clean up. We also have access to a full gymnasium, and we get that about 2 hours a day, if not more. And we have a back patio as well, and a little kitchen for baking and cooking. It's just off in behind the main room. But our kitchen is a large part of our center because there's so many of the young people who are interested in cooking and sharing meals with friends. A typical day looks very different for everybody. Some come and work independently on classes that they're taking. Others move between different activities that they have interests in, like writing in the morning and then maybe gym in the early afternoon, to going for a walk, to coming back and doing more focused work, or art, or socializing with peers. For a lot of the teens, a lot of their time is spent talking. And it's not just like light chit-chatting. They get into very deep conversations about the world, their beliefs, philosophies, social issues. I would say that becomes like a core piece of the teens' experience at Passages, is the amount of conversations they get into and the amount of natural learning that comes from those conversations alone. It's pretty powerful. And for teens, their life is about being social and is about making connections and learning how to advocate for themselves, or learning how to express their opinions and their beliefs. So these are awesome opportunities for doing that. Others explore materials, or they might play games, read. We don't have device restrictions, so they could look on YouTube, or they could be on their devices for a bit, following their interests, or just learning, relaxing a bit. If they're feeling tired, that's okay too, to have a rhythm and balance to your day. It's not all work all day. So they really learn how to figure out what their needs are and figure out the rhythm or the pacing of their day. Here's an example of the sample week of things that we get up to. So we typically have our weekly community meeting on Mondays. With that comes like our finance circle, which is the finance group that runs the resource money for trips or materials. So they come together weekly, pull together anything that was bought, present it to the meeting, and give an updated budget summary. We also have weekly D&D classes. We'd had for a while a life and careers program. Band was happening. Skittles Club is our LGBTQ group. There was a desire for that, so that was running all year. And there's just different things based on the interests of the youth in the space. Some of them run by the youth who are in the center, and others are adult driven, or we have volunteers or other staff that run the programming. Like I said, we have our weekly democratic meeting, and so that's where all our decisions of the center go through. So resource requests, classes, workshops, trips, personal issues, a lot of our conflict resolution goes through our community meetings. The initial part of the meeting is just a group check-in going around the circle and asking like, how are you? Is there anything you need? Is there any issues you want to bring forward that you want to like talk about as a community? And I would say a lot of the interpersonal issues might come up during that meeting, and that gives everyone an opportunity to hear what someone's struggling with, hear interpersonal dynamics, support them, and support the people moving through that repair if that's what's needed. But our weekly community meeting is not mandatory, but encouraged. I think it's an awesome opportunity for leadership, for speaking, listening, following through on there's an agenda item proposed, discussion, go around the circle, see who agrees, what amendments need to be made, and then it may be approved. So just seeing that full item go through a meeting is pretty powerful, and that they have the chance to see that they have the ability to make change in their space. A big part of Passages is going on trips. So we try to go on 2 trips a month, not just to the typical ROM AGO, but just to other unique spaces in Toronto, because this is a pretty awesome city. So we take advantage of that. Learning isn't only in 4 walls. So we get out in the city. You can see we're at Graffiti Alley. We found a little art shop that we just went in as we were walking by one day and did kind of a tour of that gallery. Distillery District, Liberty Village. We do all of that stuff, and it's all dependent on the learner's interests. So that would be where the trip circle would assess what everyone's interests are, see which ones have the most people interested in joining, and then they would schedule those trips or call and make the arrangements for us to visit somewhere. This is the mentoring piece of Passages, where it's the one-on-one working with a staff member. So this is offered to everyone. Grade 9 and above get once a week check-ins up to 45 minutes. Grade 8 and below get every other week unless they request weekly meetings, and some do. But these meetings are a chance to have a check-in. What have you been up to? What are your interests? Do you need any resources? Do you want to make any changes at the community meeting? Anything they have been working on, we document it in a shared document that parents can access as well, and parents can add information as well. Things like viewing documentaries or going to plays or workshops, that all gets added into this document as a proof of learning. Because at Passages and as a self-directed learner, life and learning isn't different. It just is all the same. So we track all of that so that if in the future there's documentation needed, we have it ready and we're not kind of fumbling to figure out what they've been doing for the past, couple of years. A large piece of Passages is psychological safety. A lot of the youth that join us haven't had a great history in the public school system. They've either experienced bullying or feeling othered. A lot of the LGBTQ youth haven't felt like part of the group, or they've been shamed. So we ensure that our community is supportive. And we do this through our community agreements, which are created every year. They're amended throughout the year in our community meeting. But these agreements are like a big sheet on the middle of our main room. And it's basically how people want the space to feel and be. Learning these skills of how to be respectful within community, how to have your own boundaries and express them, and how to respect someone else's boundaries when they've been clear what their needs are. This is a huge piece of the soft skills, and I think the real life skills that a lot of employers are looking for that is kind of missing in school system these days. We know they can go out and they can get facts and they can find anything they want, and AI is doing the work for them and all of that. But this core piece of like, how do you work in community? How do you be collaborative and a good listener and an empathetic person? That's a really important piece that we focus on. We also offer a lot of parent support. We know this is a unique approach to education. We know this can be a really challenging like mind shift for parents. So we support you with that. Groups of parents come together once a month, either for a Zoom meeting with a topic, or we meet in person at the center with a topic, or just a discussion about people's challenges, how they're feeling. There's a weekly newsletter that goes out at the end of every week to kind of update you what has been kind of conversations going on, what's the interest in the center right now, what have people been up to. That's kind of a bit of a bridge between home and the center, because a lot of teens, it is hard for parents to like get out of them what they do throughout their day. So this adds opportunity for a parent to be like, oh, I saw that there was a spoken word workshop this week. Did you go? And then that might lead into conversation where the parent then feels like connected to what their child's doing. We also host a couple times throughout the year a showcase event, and that's where learners can put out things they're working on, do performances, invite friends and family into the center, and just basically celebrate them, and they can show off a little bit. And those are really fun nights. And then, of course, there's online community events at other self-directed learning centers and other spaces that I share regularly in the weekly newsletter. So the big question that everyone has and feels a lot of stress about is, what about the future? My child's going to a school that doesn't require assignments or grades, or they're not getting credits or diploma. How are they going to move out of my basement at some point? There is a way, I will tell you. Some of the grade 9 and above students decide that they do want to take some high school credits. They do want to be in classes, and the Independent Learning Centre or the Virtual Learning Centre are two places that offer Ontario credits. At the Independent Learning Centre, ILC, they're $40 a credit, and it's a self-paced class. So you have 10 months to finish that credit, and then you can work your way through the program. A lot of them take maybe grade 9 English, and then we'll take grade 9, 10, 11, and 12 high school English, because if they do want to enter into post-secondary as a mature student doesn't require you to have a high school diploma, usually starts at age 19. A lot of those post-secondaries want grade 12 English or proof of English. So if someone has a dream of one day going to post-secondary, we say, like, why don't you just start taking the credits when you're ready, and then you have that grade 12 credit ready for you. What used to be called the GED is now called the Canadian Adult Education Credential. So that's another option where you can get high school equivalency. Some of the learners in the center have been studying for that, and they plan to take that. You have to be 18 to take the test, but you can prepare leading up to it. Like I said, mature student status is an avenue into post-secondary for people that don't have a high school diploma. All of them have it. It's just a matter of what age. Some schools will be age 19 and above. Others are 21 and above. Just depends on the institution and their requirements. But that's a very simple path of having a life of freedom and education, and then still getting your post-secondary education if that's what you want. Some people don't want to wait till they're 18 or mature students, so they start taking university classes at 16, and that would be through open universities like Athabasca University or Thompson River. A lot of the university and college programs now have bridging programs, so it would be a bridging program for their college. So George Brown College offers one to then enter into their program of choice. U of T has Woodsworth College bridging program, where you do 8 months of a program, and then you can head into first year in social sciences or humanities at U of T. There's also entrepreneurship. Not everyone wants to go to university or college or do further education. They just have a dream, they have an idea, and they're going to just roll with it. And then internships to employment. Oftentimes, the older learners might start volunteering somewhere or might start an internship, and that can very easily lead to a job. And then, of course, now there's a lot of like learning centers that are specific to the tech or the trades. So going into those would be also an alternate route to post-secondary. So more specifically to Passages, how do you join? Here is an example of our member fees for the year. We really strive to make our center accessible to everybody. That means we try to balance accessibility with keeping the lights on. That being said, we pair your income to what your fees will be. So everyone has essentially a personalized fee based on your income. We ask that everyone does a family financial assessment if you're paying anything below the highest tier. So that's an internal assessment, and then through that we would give you your personalized fees. You can opt out of that assessment, but that would place you in the highest tier. We also have a trip and materials fees and the Discovery Week fee as well. You can attend an information session or watch this session. We offer tours twice a week for anyone interested in coming to actually physically see the center. I really recommend doing that. It's great to get a sense of the space and the different learners in the space. After the tour, you can then go on a Discovery Week, which is 5 days in the center. It can be spread out across 2 weeks if coming consecutively every day is a challenge. But that's basically a time to come to the center, see what it's all about, join classes, join workshops, and just be a part of everything that is Passages. Once that Discovery Week is done and it felt like a fit for everyone, then you can register in the center and continue on with your year. And there's ongoing enrollment all year long. That's everything from me today. Thank you for joining me. And again, please reach out if you have any questions and I'll be happy to answer them.